Welcome to Misbehaving in Maine. I'm Dan Williams. This story is called Accidentally Eating the Silver Lining, my first makeout session. And now, here goes everything. Ironically, my first French kiss happened at a talent show. My lady and I weren't on stage, but left the gymnasium to secure a stage of our own out in the bowels of the school. This was Palermo Consolidated School, Palermo, Maine, PCS for short. The hallways of my head still echo with the song of PCS, which teachers forced us to sing or scream sing, depending on our abilities. It went like this. I'm PCS born and PCS bred, and when I die, I'll be PCS dead. So it's rah rah for PCS, rah rah for PCS, rah rah for good old PCS. Since I didn't believe in death at the time, not mine anyway, the song held little meaning for me. I wasn't walking around thinking, what does it mean to be PCS dead? I only thought, it's nice to scream in school. On that long ago talent show night, the young lady who tasted with me the wine and cheese of passion was my girlfriend, Mackenzie. Before our performance, she performed before the entire town on the big gymnasium stage. She and her cousin Jessica wore wedding dresses and danced in slow motion, a slowness borrowed from Pretty Underwater Corpses, while Bette Midler sang The Rose, which was the only song on earth for a couple decades in Palermo. I was in the audience, my heart hammering. Not because I thought I might make out for the first time in my life that night, but because I knew I would. On the phone the night before, Mackenzie and I had drawn up and finalized our plans. So, I said, should we? Make out? She said. Yeah, I said. She paused. I've never done it before. Me too, I said. After we both contributed long enough silences to allow one of us to say, no thank you, she said, I guess so. And I said, I guess so, too. Fate had us firmly in its grasp. The plan was this. After Mackenzie's Bette Midler wedding with her cousin, she and I would casually stroll up the long zigzagging ramp that led from the gym to the school. There, we would find an empty classroom and educate ourselves, which scared me. It hadn't been all that long since I'd interrogated and thrown down my old belief that pregnancy occurs after the pastor says, you may kiss the bride, and the groom does it. That's when. That's sex. Sex in church, right in front of family, friends, God, and your immaculate grandmother. Yes, I'd thrown it down, but the aroma of old beliefs lingers. I didn't think kissing caused pregnancy anymore, but it caused something. I knew that much. Something significant. A sea change of the soul. And when you're hanging on the edge of something that substantial, you're nothing but a scared little hobbit talking to the wizard in your head. I don't want to be in a battle, but waiting on the edge of one I can't escape is even worse. I waited. On the edge of my seat, I watched her dance. With trembling hands, I reached for my handy pack of Wrigley's Big Red cinnamon gum. I chose Big Red because of Wrigley's marketing campaign at the time, which included that Kiss a Little Longer song and video, an overloaded feast for the senses that fattened up every one of my early developmental years. I meant to use only one stick of gum, but I swallowed the first one by accident when Mackenzie and her cousin danced the butt, a famous dance move involving hips and motions. They made it their own by dancing it slowly, but that only intensifies the butt tenfold. I swallowed a second piece of gum as well, but on purpose this time. thinking spicy freshness sent to the core might neutralize the gases mounting there, gases that smelled like I just unearthed and cannibalized a real live Cabbage Patch Kid. Nerves attack some people in the head. Mine attack the gut. Its white flag is a green fume that only near-lethal doses of bold cinnamon can suppress. With jittering hands, I slipped additional gums into my mouth. Better too bold and too fresh than sorry. Gum after gum until the bulging big red pack in my pocket lay flaccid. I was ready. Or not. But here I go. Mackenzie and her cousin drifted from the stage on clouds of enormous applause. I was so terrified I had an ovation. It brought me to my feet. Standing, I clapped. Standing, I cheered. Standing, I left the crowd, hurried to the locker room hallway, and waited for Mackenzie to change out of her gown into nothing but denim, scrunchies, and grunge. She came out of the locker room with her cousin, who saw me and looked as if she was seeing the ghost of a trembling youth chewing on a gum wad the size of a baby's head. The cousin vanished in a stiff cloud of aqua net, a cloud associated at the time with certain liver cancers, leaving Mackenzie and I to face fate alone. I took her hand. It felt dead, just like mine, which made me feel a little better, less alone. I said, "Good dance," right in her face. She winced from the cinnamon and coughed once, but it was a fortifying cough. She nodded her thank you like a soldier. Hand in hand, holding tightly to our cadaverous resolve, we walked the long ramp. The ramp ramped up to the right, then turned and ramped left. It was an open ramp, which means you could see the gymnasium from it. The ramp's first half was filled with people who'd arrived late and couldn't get a seat. They didn't notice us walking behind them, but they probably felt the cold wind of us, two frigid explorers heading for the unknown, just a couple virginal goslings gravely crossing the point of no return. The second half of the ramp was filled with kids, little kids, kids our age, and many kids who were aggressively much older. And somehow every kid, young and old, knew exactly what Mackenzie and I were up to. But how? I hadn't told anyone my intentions, only my brother and sister, and they weren't there. Mackenzie said she hadn't told anyone either. Just Jessica. The cousin. Now I understood why the second ramp smelled like liver cancer. Jessica. She wasn't anywhere to be seen, but the effect of her premature and vicarious kiss and tell was felt. Elbows nudged ribs as Mackenzie and I ascended. A filthy game of telephone sex whispered along, keeping pace with us. Heads turned all the way around in a display of demonic yoga to watch us pass. Kids grinned with their blunted fangs. Kids blew kisses. Kids mime-groped imaginary friends and did the butt so hard their thrusts could have dented car doors. Mackenzie and I strangled one another's hands as we made it through the erotic gauntlet and into the school, our minds tipsy and pregnant to the gills with dread. The school's main hall was wide and empty except for a few forgotten coats on hooks. Even these seemed to know what we were up to. The coat ghosts snickered in their hollow hoods, filling the air with vulgar and primal tinnitus. Mackenzie selected the second classroom on the left, the first grade room, where Mrs. Crow had been my teacher once upon a time and had yelled at me for not being able to spell the word the. But I'd never seen the word on paper before and thought it was pronounced he. I followed Mackenzie into the classroom. I had no choice. Her hand had frozen around mine like Charlemagne's had frozen around his swords, pens, and other columns. I turned on the lights, I don't know why, and we were bathed in rank after rank of brutal fluorescent honesty. Every pimple has its day. The nighttime outside pressed its lecherous face against the giant square windows and reflected us perfectly. Two youths. Two youths about to rub the miserable innocence off our faces like animals erosion molting against any surface rough enough and handy. I faced her. She faced me. And away we go. First, though, I happened to breathe and accidentally swallowed my globe of gum and nearly died. This might have been God offering a way out. I didn't take it, though. I lived. Mackenzie and I stood there toe to toe in the puritanical fluorescence, which fluttered like a facial tick. By the smell of chalk, paste, and the crap of the class snake, I couldn't help but think of that first grade teacher of mine, Mrs. Crow. I could still hear her voice. "Dan," she said. "Yes, Mrs. Crow?" "Spell promiscuity." "I didn't even know that was a word, Mrs. Crow. It just sounds like dirty sounds to me. I'm sorry." "Spell debauchery." "If only I could." "All right then. Sin. Spell sin." "Sin. S-I-N. Sin." "Good, Dan. And very bad, Dan. Very, very bad indeed. Don't you know how pregnancy spreads?" "So," I said to Mackenzie, trying to drown out the crow in the room, and that's exactly when Mackenzie grabbed me and hauled me in close. I think she grabbed me because if she didn't, we would have spontaneously fled in opposite directions. Which we couldn't. We had a contract. And we had people counting on us. All of the popular children of Satan waiting for us out on the ramp. If we rejoined them without having done what we'd gone to do, they would know. Kids like that can smell the humidity of certain recent secret acts as well as they can smell fear and failure. So we did it. We Frenched. "This," I told my wizard in the midst of it, "is extremely drooly. I had no idea lips have no substance. I thought they'd be like making out with my hand for practice has been. Wow, her face is close. Why are her eyes open? She looks like a cyclops chewing on my face. Is that what I look like? Like a cyclops chewing on her face?" Then something else happened. Out of Mackenzie's mouth swam a muscular, lukewarm, boneless finger. It entered my mouth and swung this way and that, like a worm rushing into an intimidating cave and making itself brave by a demonstration of wiggle strength. My only defense was to launch my tongue in a counter-strike. Our tongues wrestled like God and Jacob, if God and Jacob had been slippery, wet, and nude. We did this until at the same moment we pulled away, and fast. We stared at each other, shocked, angry, disgusted, and knowing that lust is a lie. It promises the world to your heart and pants, but gives only a ring of slime somewhere on your person and a closed door right at your back, slammed and locked. Behind the door, your innocence, your golden ticket to virgin's heaven, the highest, quietest, and most hygienic of all the heavens. Having nothing to say, I once again said, "So?" Mackenzie nodded like a soldier freshly returned from a war that gave her only awkward stories of incompetence to tell. Without another word or nod, we left the classroom, no longer holding hands. We used our hands to wipe our education on our sleeves. The cult of perverts on the ramp scented the dampness of our deed and spied it by the light of the rashy red spelled all over our faces. They patted my slumped back. They extended their hands for high fives. The back patting was heavy, and the high fives stung. I don't know where Mackenzie went at this point, gone in a vapor like Jessica, I suppose. I would have gone too if I'd had a vapor to escape into. but the only vapor I had was the steel heavy one swelling low in my belly, cabbage and cinnamon fire. And if I let that one out, I would have drawn the attention of the entire gymnasium. Which sounds like talent, but trust me, my butt is no Bette Midler. So I had to walk my way out. Down and down the ramp I went, propelled by the savage backslaps and fives. And then I saw him, the good and moral man, my father. He was standing at the bottom of the ramp waiting for me, there to pick me up and bring me home. Home, a word and concept I no longer deserved. I was an outdoor cat now, a furball of matted morality, skunk reek, and a missing ear. My father, the wholesome soul who imagined he had a pure Dan in his family still, but was deceived, said, "Ready?" I nodded like the dishonorably discharged. Then we walked into the outer darkness together, Holy Father and prodigal son, this son still dripping from the troughs of the far country where he had sold his face's chastity for a bowl of drool. On the car ride home, the radio played The Rose. Dad drove in slow motion, and I waited for him to say, "Confess." He never did. Back at home, my brother and sister demanded to know things. "Confess," they said. "Tell us everything." We crept into the basement, and under the jaundiced cyclops eye of a bare light bulb, I told my tale. A tale that by the miracle of tale-telling became a tale of greatness. I told all. The rose, the dance, the gum, the ramp, the fans I had, the deed, the spit, the tongues, the purity of a good son lost in a vapor, and the most high fives in a row any non-athlete has ever received in fact or on fairy tale paper. "You did it," they said. "I did it," I said. And they glowed in my glow until it was time to clear the room, which I'm sure I did. The inner pressures would have been nearly lethal at that point. Yea, I released my tail, then released my green wind, which filled the sails of our evacuation. I impregnated those sails with the kiss of my rear, and off we went, running and laughing, eyes burning with exotic spices, cinnamon, and something much older, the biting funk of the knowledge of good and evil. That night I lay in bed. I lay awake. I lay puzzled, electrified, and far too alive to ever sleep again. I hummed The Rose. My voice sounded good. Good enough that I considered singing the school song instead of screaming it. And when I die, I'll be PCS dead. Except people like me don't die, do they? The ones who actually live? Don't we break death's mold, my dear wizard, if not with our youth, then with our stories? So it's rah-rah for good old PCS. For out of PCS's fluorescent refinery, I emerged a man. I stuck out my chin. I swelled out my chest. I rolled my tongue around in my mouth to simulate a worm fight and discover if it really had been as odd and awful as it unquestionably had been. Then I considered my telling of the tale and the golden glow on the faces of my brother and sister. I sighed. My breath was cinnamony still. It was the spray of new seas. I sighed again, and with the satisfaction of a boy, an explorer, a man who has been there, the beyond, a soldier who looked fate in the face so closely her 3 eyes looked like one, like fate herself had leaned in for a taste, a chew on this carnal soldier's face. And now our hero is back again, and with a story that would no doubt grow more golden in the telling and in time. I was about to release sigh number 3 when my breath caught in my throat. I sat up. I covered my heart with one hand and my mouth with the other. "Wait," I whispered. "What if—" Then I thought, I've been assuming that Mackenzie's post-kiss disappearance was her way of dumping me, but what if it wasn't her way of dumping me? What if this isn't the end? What if she wants to see me tomorrow? Oh, wizard. Oh, God. What if I have to kiss her again? This has been Misbehaving in Maine. See you next time. And remember, you may be wicked, you may be weird, but you're not alone.